Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about decimals, addition and subtraction. To begin, we want to have our two rules or procedures on adding and subtracting decimals. So our first step is to line up the decimal points so that we can add or subtract the corresponding place value digits. The second step is to add or subtract the digits from the right. I do want to make a special note that any whole number has an unwritten decimal point at the right. We can't see it, but if we have a whole number like the number 3,456, we can also write it as 3,456.0000, 1 0, 2 zeros, however many zeros we'd like. So let's try our first addition example. We have the numbers 0.02 plus 4.3 plus 0.649. So our first step is again to line up the decimal point so that we can add or subtract the corresponding place values. So I have 0.02, 4.3, and 0.649. Since I do see that my decimals are lined up, I do want to add some extraneous zeros just so I can keep the place values aligned. Okay, now everybody has the same number of place values that we can see, and we can just go ahead and add like normal. 0 plus 0 plus 9 is 9. 2 plus 0 plus 4 is 6. 0 plus 3 plus 6 is 9. I'm going to go ahead and bring that decimal point down, and now I'm going to add my last column on the left. 0 plus 4 plus 0 is 4. So we should get the answer 4 and 969 thousandths. Our next example is going to be a little bit longer. We have more decimal places, but we're going to solve it the exact same way. The first thing I'm going to do is rewrite all of my numbers so that our decimal places are aligned. And I can see that I have all of my digits in place, and I'll need to add an extraneous 0 to my two first numbers. Now we can just go ahead and add like normal. 0 plus 0 plus 4 we know is 4. 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 9, 14. I'm going to go ahead and carry that 1 up here. 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 7 is 17, plus 8 is going to be 25. Carry my 2. 2 plus 5 is 7, plus 3 is 10, plus 0. Carry my 1. 4 plus 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7, plus 7 is 14. Before I start adding my last column, I am going to go ahead and bring that decimal down, and now I can add 1 plus 0 plus 0 plus 8 and get 9. So we have 9.40544 for our answer. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to subtraction with our last two examples. So our first example, 56 and 314 thousandths minus 17 and 78 hundredths. So our first step is to line up our decimal points so that we can subtract our corresponding place value digits. So I'm just going to rewrite our numbers so that all of our digits are aligned. We can see that we will need to add an extraneous 0 to hold that place, and then we're just going to go ahead and subtract like normal from the right. So I am going to subtract 4 minus 0, get 4. I'm going to have to borrow from this 3, make it a 2. 11 minus 8 we know is 3. 2 from 7 we can't do, so we're going to have to go ahead and borrow from that 6. Now it becomes a 12 minus 7, which we are able to subtract and get 5. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and bring my decimal down so that everything stays aligned. Since we can't subtract 7 from 5, I'm going to have to go ahead and borrow. Makes this a 4. And 15 minus 7 is 8. And then our last left column, 4 minus 1 is 3. So we're left with 38 and 534 thousandths. On our last example, we have 13 and 7 hundredths, subtract 9 and 205 thousandths. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite, make sure that my decimals are all lined up. I notice that I will need to put that extra 0 here, and now I can go ahead with subtraction. I'm going to have to borrow from that 7 and make it a 6. 10 minus 5 is 5. 6 minus 0 is 6. I'm going to have to borrow from this 3 and make it a 2, which makes our 0 now a 10. Minus 2 is 8. At this point, I'm going to keep my decimals aligned, and now I can subtract 12 minus 9, my last column, and get 3. So we end up with 3 865 thousandths. Now, why don't you go ahead and try? I have these 4 problems right here. Pause the video now, and when you're done, we'll check the answers. Are these the answers that we got? If you did, great job. If not, make sure you're going back and checking your work to see where any mistakes were made. I know on number 1 it was very tricky because we had a whole number that we had to put a decimal point and add the extraneous zeros to.